from Philadelphia. Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. Unfortunately, it's probably not the greatest Christmas if you were celebrating that. Happy Boxing Day to all of you that are listening to this on the 26th. Vince Quinn is way more happier than I am today. At least I think that's what we're going today.
Jolly would be the term. John, it's the holiday season. I'm jollier than you today.
Yes, very much jollier. Maybe it's because his coffee is stronger, maybe not. But, man, listen, Cowboys fans are ridiculously stupid. And, all of in fact, some of the bloggers, too, just full on, slurping their own takes up and forgetting the fact that they lost to a bunch of has-been teams and, up-and-coming teams and all this other stuff. And I don't know. It feels like they they really needed this one, so more power to them. And I got to tell you, Vince, I kind of just I'm still a little pissed off from everything because of all the reasons that we already know by now. 3rd and 30 has probably been shoved down your throat a million times. The 4 turnovers, the 20 points from there. Yes, in the fact that Taylor Kredatus, before we started pointing out, Minshew might not be as great as we thought, as maybe I pumped myself up to be. But I don't know where you're at today on a Monday morning here, Vince Quinn, but I'm still a little funked-ified here. So help me get out of the funk.
I mean, for me, one, late in the game, the Sanders fumble at the end of the game there that basically flipped it. I mean, that was brutal. But otherwise,
Barney.
Barney. But other than that, man, I thought that game was electric. That was awesome. I mean, look, and for everything you wanted on Christmas Eve, wasn't that kind of the game that you wanted? Like big time, big plays, both sides of the ball. You got a pick six. You got all these spectacular catches. They were in it for the whole game with a backup quarterback. Like, they almost won it in the last second. I mean, it was like, it wasn't exactly a close ball, but I mean, Minshew's throwing the ball in the end zone with the chance to win the game as time is expiring basically on 4th down. Like, that game fucking ruled. It sucks that they lost, but that game ruled. So that's one for me. And two, because of that, like, I feel so much better about the Eagles than I do now, or than I did before. Like, obviously, I've said Dallas is a threat. I've said they're a good team. They played a good game. And they deserve to win that one. So it is what it is. But, like, dude, you know what the biggest difference is? If you want to talk about all the different things that happened in that game, you can yell about Quez, you can yell about Sanders, you can yell about all this different shit. Biggest difference for me in this game, Gardner Minshew, 4 carries for 5 yards. That's the difference. Like, when you don't have that mobility from Jalen Hurts and you can get all these different plays, like the alarming thing to me, and I don't know if you felt this, John, but like watching Gardner Minshew make good plays for who he is, which would be he's in the pocket, he's getting pressure, he throws the ball away. Totally fine for him. But you go like, oh, wait, I'm not used to that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like we don't see that anymore. Jalen will very occasionally throw the ball away, but a lot of times he's taking it. Like, he's going to run. He's going to get 4 yards, 5 yards, which is all Minshew had all game. Like, I look at the big picture of this and I go, for them to play a game like that on the road and almost have a chance to win that at the end there, I feel really good about this team. I think the Eagles roster is just as great as we've thought all along. 15-2, John. We're on the 15-2 train. Welcome aboard. We have 2 weeks left, and everything's fine. I'm not panicking about anything.
See, he didn't want 16-1 just so his 15-2 take could be exact on. Now we understand why he feels so great about it. But let's touch on that real quick, too. I want to stick with Minshew and Hurts. And, man, like, if you came out of that Chris Sims and said that, this team would be at a place where, didn't matter who the quarterback was, basically, as long as it was a competent guy in there. If you put in, I don't know, Rippin or who are all these, Brock Purdy, shout out to Taylor's, actual Tom Brady. But, like, it's not anywhere close for all the reasons you just described. Micah Parsons still looks like an asshole in a loss, and I appreciate that. Like, all of this stuff just proves what Jason Kelce and a lot of people have been preaching, and I bet you people took that as lip service or whatever they kind of want to, however they want to excuse themselves from being like, Jalen Hurts isn't this good, and now he is that good. To me, where you're at and where I can be happy about, if Jalen was there, they would have absolutely crushed that team. That should have been 44-20. And when we talk about people making mistakes, you're looking right at it. I don't think, whether it's a good play or not, I don't think, Jalen Hurts is throwing, especially to Quez Watkins, which we'll get into in a little bit as well, in the middle of the field. That's just too dangerous of a throw. And like you were saying, Vince, he's going to probably pull that down and find a way out of that. 2 yards, 3 yards, maybe that's one he doesn't throw away, but the negative plays just like aren't there. And for what it's worth, I don't know if it's just weird exchange. It probably is, but the Boston Scott fumble that happened, it looked like, that's one of those things I'm used to being shoved in there, just like Jason Kelsey snaps the ball like a fastball or whatever it is. And so you have you even take those two things out of this game and they still win. I guess that's why I'm still mad, is because they were going to bury this team. Even with Gardner Minshew in there, they had so many opportunities to do that. I mean, how are you, dude? Josh Sweat is an it's starting to get to the point where now he's becoming a very underrated NFL player to be talked about. Like, we are at that point of how good this defense, despite the 3rd and 30 of all that, really kept them in there. And that's why I'm still just going, damn it, man. Like, they should have had that one. It's going to bother me for a long time. It's like that scene in the Mighty Ducks when you see all the wins in a row on those banners, and then there's, oh boy, I'd wish they'd take that one down, even though it doesn't matter at all in the end. That's kind of just like, fuck. They could have been 16-1, and I think in part Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Quez Watkins, and a little bit of Gardner Minshew is the reasons why. So that's why we can all get past it. But man, seeing Cowboys celebrate is still bumming me out. It is. It's anecdotal. It doesn't matter in the end, but it still bums me out.
It's look, nobody wants to see Dallas win the game as much as people are going to tell me that I did want Dallas to win the game. Go fuck yourselves. I did not. But they are a good team, and like for everything that they're putting together for this, they can get as hyped about this as they want. When the turnover differential, and like, look, the Eagles are the reasons for these turnovers, or Dallas made a good play here or there to cause them. But that's the biggest differentiator to me. And for the Eagles, it's like, okay, well, you still put up 34 points despite all of those turnovers, and you did it with your backup quarterback. To do that against Dallas's defense, it's pretty damn encouraging.
Which sucks, Vince Quinn. That's the other thing that I got to take away from this, too, is just like, I told you can manipulate the hell out of that secondary, and they did on the very first play. What the hell is A.J. Brown doing wide open? Like, it's just you can do, or was that A.J. Brown or is that Devontae? Either way, I can't remember. When Gardner flung it down there for 54 yards, it's not that good of a defense. That's what it told me the whole game. They're owning their ass. When who was it? Was it? Oh, man, remind me, down at the goal line when he was saying, bring on the QB sneak. Who was yapping again? Do you remember that?
Oh, no, I forget who that was.
See if you can remember, help us out there. But, like, when you're saying, please bring it to me, and then they just steamroll you right after that and score a touchdown, that defense is not as good as you think it is. Dan Quinn is probably not as good as we are giving him credit for in this. Like, I thought that was obvious that they were getting manipulated left and right. Diggs too. They're aggressive. They're ball hawks, but man, that's where they show their ass. I thought they showed their ass against it was Lawrence. My bad. Thank you, T. Of course it was Lawrence. So the second time in a row he's talking shit. First it's to Jalen, then it's to the offensive line. Like, they are a sad bunch that need to be reinforced with all the dopamine that goes through their head to act like they're a part of this elite crew, and they are not anywhere close to it. And people are still using that term like that's an elite offense that just happened. No, they dug themselves in a hole. Dak Prescott is so good, and like they gave him the ball 4 times with half field. You can't do that. Like, so I don't know. What am I saying? That this is right where Vince Quinn said at the beginning of the show. If they come into Dallas fully healthy, I'm good. They're going to be favored, and they're going to kick the shit out of them, and it'll be a footnote at the end of the season.
I mean, Dallas is going to have to come into Philly. I still think that defense is good, but also the Eagles are loaded with talent everywhere. I mean, it's got like Devontae Smith is a goddamn superstar. And if you have any doubts about it, just watch that game again. I mean, those catches, he's done that kind of thing since the moment he got here. So he looks amazing. AJ's great. Goddard is great. Like they've just, and the offensive line is great. They didn't give up a single sack in this game. So like, yeah, they've got they've got talent all over the place. Dallas does too, but I think the biggest differentiator is there's just more on the Eagles side of things, and that's what you bear out as you see this game ultimately play out. It's just like the Eagles need to play a cleaner game, and if they do that, they're going to win. I really think it's that simple. So I'm not, again, that's why I'm not like worried about this. I don't think it's a disaster. I'm not trying to fire anybody. CeeDee Lamb's fucking good. Like, he's really good. I just don't know what to tell you. The guy's a great receiver. All of his metrics have him as a top 10 guy. It is what it is. Tony Pollard is a really good running back. He was doing it in the running game and the passing game, more in the passing game, but he's really good. It's just like, I can't get bent out of shape from losing a game like this on the road to a good team when you play poorly. Slay had some rough moments in this game. You know, Josiah Scott, who's a guy that was good before, comes in for an injured Maddox, and he has some mistakes. Like, they just, you know, you're going to lose some of these matchups when there's talent on the other side of the ball. It's not an embarrassing thing. It's not a fire somebody thing. It's just sometimes the other team makes good plays. So, I don't want to go too much down the rabbit hole here, but man,
yeah, please. Like, I love rabbit holes.
Well, no, it's an encouraging, like, overall, it's just sometimes you're going to lose to a good team if you play poorly, and the Eagles played poorly in some respects, especially on the defensive side. They had some lapses. I mean, look, you gave up 40 points. You had 6 sacks and all, but you gave up 40 points. It's a lot of points. And I don't know. I wouldn't be too upset about this one. I would let this one go. And again, you're going to play Dallas again. You're going to play them in Philly if you do. And Jalen should be healthy for that game, or healthy enough, and that's going to be the difference, and they win.
Yeah, and like, I don't know what people are going to focus on more from that, and maybe everybody's just kind of past it too, which is great if you are, because, you know, I'm already thinking about the Saints and what we should do there, and we'll get into that in a little bit, because threw out an interesting poll this morning. But listen, no matter what happens when anybody, I'm going to stick to that 3rd and 30 for a second. If there is a backup or a young player that is ever responsible for inverted coverage, which that is, where it looks like you're supposed to be covering whatever short zone, then you back off right at the last second and you become a safety, and that was supposed to happen. You had Chauncey Gardner on Twitter saying, damn it, that is an easy interception. And yes, that's exactly what it should be. But when you even go back to Jim Schwartz or whoever it was, they were all trying to do this inverted cover 2, inverted this, inverted that. And like, for some reason, it's just, and it wasn't communicated on the field. So that was the biggest problem. That's the only reason. Like, he had no idea what his responsibility was on that play, which is another like thing just to throw in there as a weirdo gork. But I mean, even as we're talking about this, Jonathan Gannon is going to get plenty of heat, but he did basically everything correctly, right? Like, you are going to yell and scream about not having enough stunts, and I can already hear Tank, like, on our live stream going back a couple of days, saying that. Yes, absolutely. There are times where he is clearly not aggressive enough, But I say to this, 3rd and 30, what works better, an inverted coverage like they did, or just simply doing the old Jim Schwartz picket fence and standing there and say, do that, because that would have been a safer play. And that's all I'm saying. It's 3rd and 30. You don't have to get crazy here. Just back up and try and stop them from achieving that line. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, look, they chucked it like 50 yards on that play. So even the picket fence, they still would have had to run back and go get it. And look, you're going to mess up plays sometimes. You can't, you know what I mean? Like, that is the nature of football. Even when you're getting great players, sometimes they're just going to fuck up. So, like, I can't look at this and go, you know, oh, this was atrocious this way or that way. I mean, I'm sure the Cowboys would look at certain plays and go, like, look, there were certain times where this guy blew that coverage. I mean, Devontae Smith was wide fucking open in the end zone when he caught that first touchdown. Yeah. They just lost him. They just forgot about him. So, like, everybody screws up, everybody makes mistakes, and it's just what you do in the grand scheme of things. I mean, for the Eagles, yeah, and for the defense, they played fine. It's just like CeeDee runs out of the slot. I think losing Maddox was a big difference in that. And for everything else, it's just you had too many turnovers and you couldn't overcome it. You're giving up the short fields, like you said. Turpin had a huge return in this game for like 50 yards. It felt like he just he took one back pretty far. So I don't know. It's one of those things you shake it off and you hope for next week. But even still, with all the injuries, and you could go like, oh, well, Lane Johnson got hurt and Avonte Maddox got hurt, and we would have won this game if maybe they did. Like, the Eagles have been one of the healthiest teams in the league, if not literally the healthiest team in the league this year. So I can't look at this and go, well, oh, if this guy and that guy didn't get hurt, like everybody has more guys that have been hurt, and these guys, for the most part, are coming back for the Eagles. The guys that are currently out, like we're expecting Chauncey to come back, right? Like, so I just figure with all these different players, Dallas Goedert just came back. Like they're generally really healthy. They made some bad plays. They shouldn't do that again. And if Jalen's back healthy, which he is, that's the difference. So it's like you can pick this stuff apart to some degree, but I just think it's a practice in insanity. They're 15 and or they're going to be 15-2. It's going to happen.
Really
manifesting the one seed,
yeah.
and everything's good. Like, and even Minshew was a backup. He was like. He had a good game for who Gardner Minshew is. He threw about 63% completions, 355 yards, 2 touchdowns. You could maybe blame him for one pick. I wouldn't blame him for the other. And that's a good game from a backup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thank you, T, for sending that to me. I'm seeing that Baldy was breaking down, a really actually amazing save from Josiah Scott earlier in that game, and I didn't see where Slay and Blankenship ran into one another, where like Michael Gallup is basically flying open with Bradbury, and then Josiah Scott sees what's going on to cut off an easy touchdown throw. So I don't know. It could have been anything. Just like it was just one of those days where the execution didn't match like the ideas, and the ideas I thought were really strong. I would say this is mostly on the players or the Yip Yap or whatever is the strip clubs in Dallas. I don't know. Whatever they're doing. It's Christmas. They miss their families. A whole bunch of stuff could have been. But I'm right there with you, man. I think this is going to be an embarrassing thing to watch against the Saints, whether that's Jeff Driscoll or the 2 QB system working back and forth down there. I don't know. So I guess there's been I think a pretty severe overreaction to who should start against the Saints. And I'm just going to check the poll right now, because it was almost split when I asked, like, does Jalen Hurts basically have to go this week to kind of just take care of business? And the thing that stinks is, the Vikings win. So I understand where people's heads are at too. Obviously, Dallas wins, so that puts a little more pressure on you here too. And we're at like 500 votes right now. Jalen Hurts has to play versus give Minshew one more start. 51% say give me Hurts, and I think that's absurd. I think it's crazy if you're thinking about putting Jalen Hurts in this game, don't you?
Yeah, it's crazy. For what? I mean, one, the Saints suck. So you should be able to believe that they can win this game, especially when Minshew played the way that he did. Like, are you really going to say that Gardner Minshew was the, like, I know the difference between him and Jalen is a big deal, but if you don't think that offense, what's that?
It is a win. So I understand where people are saying that.
Yeah, like but man, if you're not confident about this team with Minshew behind the wheel beating the Saints, then you're just not confident in the team. It's that simple. You believe in the team or you don't, and I believe in the team. And they're going to be fine against the Saints. I mean, they're a limited team, even though they're going. They've got Andy Dalton, greatest quarterback that's ever lived. John,
I was waiting for that.
He's my favorite bridge, Andy Dalton.
Show YouTube, by the way, if you can, if there's nothing dirty on your phone currently. But like this, it annoys me every time because I go, what is on his phone? Because it's Andy Dalton in a Bears jersey.
Yeah,
it's funniest. Really just
it's the worst art I've ever seen, which is why I had to put it on my phone and look at it every day. The Chicago Bears, when they named him a starter, they had these series of art, whatever. They put like comic book style images together of different players on the team, and one is Andy Dalton with like a machine eye and a target. And
for his accuracy,
hitting the target, the dead bullseye. So I will show people this.
Oh my god!
It is the worst, corniest, stupidest thing, and I love it. I love it.
Taylor, excellent point in our chat, by the way. Not your girlfriend is on your phone. Not a family member. Andy Dalton in a Bears jersey as a animated character.
It's so funny. It's just the funniest thing. I love it. So
happy Hanukkah, Dana.
Yeah.
Good gravy.
This will be our last one together.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. All the same. Yeah. So, like, it's just, but the Saints aren't good, man. They're not good. I'm not worried about this. There's nothing to change. Are you really going to rush? If you're going to rush Jalen Hurts back to play this game against this shit team when his shoulder's not 100%, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing to think. Let this guy rest. Let him get healthy, or you don't think this is a Super Bowl team. So I think this is a Super Bowl team. I think they're fine with Gardner Minshew. They should be able to win these things, and don't panic.
Yeah, don't panic at all about this. And stop fucking yelling at Jennifer Slay, too. And, like, what's wrong with you guys? Seriously. Oh, well, fucking people have bad days. Jesus, you don't need to, whatever. Especially around the holidays. Like, what are we doing? Twitter, you should set Twitter down on Christmas Eve. Maybe that's what it is. There's so much tension in the house. We're taking all this emotional stuff out from the family stuff on them. Just, chill out. People have bad days. And the reason why I agree so much so, if you're not looking, and granted, Lane Johnson's injury is very significant, so I don't want to like downplay that. We'll have to see how this goes this week, even though I know Vince Quinn's a huge Jack Driscoll fan, much as I am.
Team Jack.
But there is a depth and dearth or girth of talent, whatever word is correct there.
I like girth. It's not the appropriate word, but I like girth of talent.
But yeah, I'm pretty much there with you for the sole reason of this. Like, who would have thought in the same year all the shit that we have bitched about as Eagles fans for, let's see, at least 20 years and probably 40 if we're being honest with ourselves. There are 2 1,000-yard wide receivers on this team. Devontae Smith probably had his best game of the year against the Cowboys on the road for the 3rd time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A.J. Brown is A.J. Brown and has turned this franchise upside down. And if you don't believe that yet, you're a sicko. And not only that, said Slay, Bradbury, 2 corners, 2 wide receivers. You don't have to worry about the secondary. You don't have to worry about who you're throwing the football to. How the fuck did this happen, Vince Quinn? How did we get this wonderful gift? I think that has been the best gift the entire year, is having 2 elite corners, 2 elite wide receivers, and a quarterback that makes those elite wide receivers even fucking better. I couldn't be happier with where this team is at, no matter where it goes from this point on, because AJ, Devontae, Slay, and Bradbury are here right now in the present moment. Yes, are there cap stuff, free agents, a whole bunch of mess to figure out in the offseason? Absolutely. Don't care. Want to enjoy this for what it is. All 4 of those guys have been amazing since they've gotten here, and I'm ecstatic, man. So happy for all of them.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the veteran guys that have come in, it's been as good as you could possibly ask for. And you think about the leadership, locker room chemistry, all those different things, it all works. And then on the other side, too, it's like the young core of this team. I mean, Josh Sweat, holy shit. Yeah, like you said it earlier,
dude.
But he's one of those guys now. I mean, he is an elite pass rusher in the NFL, and on the other side is an elite pass rusher in the NFL. And at the D-line is Hargrave. He is an elite defensive tackle pass rusher in the NFL. Like, it's insane what they have right now. It's just they're spoiled everywhere, which is, again, why you don't panic. And you have to believe that all of these players will not all have bad games or make big mistakes on both sides of the ball that lead to them losing a game like the Saints. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I went into this was the first game I've gone into in a long time thinking that, like, okay, they could lose this game. Talking about Dallas here, it was like, okay, they could lose this game, and that's okay. But everybody else, I mean, I never thought they were going to lose the Bears game, for example. That wasn't a thought that crossed my mind. I will not have that thought either against the Saints. I'm not until it's the 4th quarter and they're down 10. If that happens, then okay, maybe they'll lose. But otherwise, I have no reason to expect them to lose this game, man, because it's just young guys, old guys, new guys, mainstays. Everybody generally is just so damn talented, and we've seen that all year, and I think we saw that again on Saturday.
And that, to me, is the true definition of an elite team, not a quarterback like Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott digging themselves out of their own hole. They're really good at doing that. In fact, I think they play better when they throw an interception and are down 10 or whatever they need to get their juices flowing. Fine. But just like you said, even when we are sitting there, and the Discord has proof of this, so go to bellandthebirdmen.com and join there. When we're sitting there at the Colts game, everyone is struggling, and everyone's freaking out and go, here comes the loss. I go, it doesn't matter what happens here. They're just going to find a way to win, And for the most part, they did that in Dallas. They did that against the Commanders, and it felt like that too. It was just like a just not their fucking night. Like somebody drank the wrong Kool-Aid or the wrong Gatorade or whatever it was. And it just, maybe you hyped yourself up too much. There was, again, a lot of emotion going into this, but I don't think that was any of it. It's so stacked everywhere, not just with talent, but like, for the most part, they got out-coached. Like, Dallas was scrambling for answers most of the game, and the only thing that, like we keep talking about, the turnovers handed it right back to them. The fact that, like, God damn, I hate to keep bringing it up, but it's just magnified between that Lawrence chirping and all the other times that they have done this. I mean, they even mentioned on the broadcast, you know what's coming half of the time. You know what concept Jalen's running. You still have no idea where it's going to go. No idea. Like, it was on display again. It felt like they could run through the Dallas Cowboys with whatever they wanted to do, essentially. So that makes me happy. And the fact that, here's the other thing that makes me feel good at the end of the day. Those elite players in which you talk about are so fucking pissed off that they're going to take it out on the Saints. They are livid. You could feel Brandon Graham's interview. You could feel it, Fletcher Cox's tweets, all of that. And you're going, man, they are really pissed off that they didn't just say, we're good here and we don't have to flirt with Jalen being around, but they're not losing to the Saints, and they're not losing to, congratulations to my New York Giants for clinching a playoff spot. Are we going to talk about that? No? Okay.
I mean, sure. They're going to get knocked out in the first round. Congratulations.
Are they? Are they?
Yeah.
Okay. But we won't have to worry about them because they're not an elite team. You don't have to worry about anybody else coming in. Just like we have said this for weeks now. I'm afraid of literally nobody, and now I'm definitely willing to say I'm afraid of no one on the AFC side. The Bills, the Chiefs, fuck them. Like, come get some. This team is too good right now. Forget about the next couple of years. This team's too good right now. Aha, your cap is not as good as ours. We got a quarterback that hit. Fuck you, we win. That's the name of the game. They're playing it, and they're winning it right now. Vince Quinn, I am ecstatic about the next few weeks of the real season starting for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, for now, it's just securing the one spot is the only thing that matters. They're going to do that this week, and then you coast for a week, you get a bye. Like, everything's going to be fine, folks. That's why I came out of that game just going like, all right, well, that was fun. And like, okay, it's a shame they didn't win, but that was fun. And they showed enough good signs, and you just get back at it. So, yeah, don't worry about anything. Get excited for this team. They're still a top-of-the-line contender. They're better than everybody else in the conference.
Last thing I have for you. I've been railing on Quez Watkins on Twitter. It's good enough. He is what he is. But Chicago, bad route, lazy route, leads to an interception. Same thing happens here almost twice. Are you willing to knock on OBJ's door? And I keep thinking about Mike Florio said, I think it's a done deal, baby. I think OBJ's coming.
It's got to be now.
At the end of the day, he's going to sign the week of the Giants game, because wouldn't that be a good tune-up game for him, right? After all this flirting, just to like, I don't know, maybe we can still screw with the Giants at the end of there. Maybe there's something to play for, but I feel, I'm going to make a prediction, OBJ's on this team before, during, or right after the Giants game.
And it's interesting you say that, too, because, I mean, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about how Quez was having a great month. You know?
He was.
It was great. He was making all sorts of big plays. So, yeah, for him to have a couple of games like this and majorly impactful negative plays like this, yeah, like, it's something to talk about. I mean, it's I still wonder now about the health of it and how healthy he actually is. I don't know.
And that's fair, too.
I feel like he would have signed somewhere by now. But if they're going to do it, I would do it this week. I mean, I'm not wasting another day for what? Like, get him in here again, because he's got to know everything. He's got to know where to be. He has to have some level. I mean, I don't even know if Jalen's throwing in practice. But as much as he knows the playbook to be ready for whenever Jalen is, then he should be ready. Like, I think it's important to get all the terminology down and just get a comfort of things. Like, even on the simplest level, right? Like, just knowing how to comfortably get him, like, know where he's living for the short term.
Easily. Dude, you don't need much time to run 4 verts. That's all I mean. You just slowly eat into Quez's snaps, and you just run them out there for, 11 and just say, you're running a go, you're running a slant. That's it.
But
you know?
it's still, it's like if they check into certain stuff or whatever.
Sure.
Just the basic comforts of doing day-to-day things within being a football player, of just like knowing where his locker is and how to get there without thinking about it. You know what I mean? Just like anything that makes it easier for him by the time you get to the start of the game, where he can just not think, basically. That's where you want him to be. So if they're going to do it today. Like, seriously, just do not wait. Get him today, and anything later than this, I think, is a mistake.
Let us know how you feel about the Saints, Quez, that semi-fraud Miles Sanders. I don't know. But
Look at Tony Pollard in comparison.
Yeah, man. I mean,
Tony Pollard's so much better than Miles Sanders. It's ridiculous.
If now it's starting to get to the point of like that fumble caused my brain to go, if you pay him anything, I'll be mad. Honestly, it's like that. Listen, that's not to say that I'm not rooting for him. I am so rooting for him every step of the way. I'm trying to yell at him to like get pissed off enough to make me look like a fool. But man, I hate winning this debate. I really do. And Vince does too. And so does Taylor. We want everyone to have a wonderful new year, Miles Sanders included. Jump in the Discord if you're bored, because, I trust me. It's New Year's is probably the combination of back-to-back going from the craziness of Christmas to New Year's. It sucks. You might as well just come talk birds with us. BellandTheBirdmen.com. Vince, any last final words there, bud?
No, hope you had a great Christmas, everybody. And Hanukkah for everybody who celebrates that. Just hope you had a great couple of days, relax, see some family, or just for your own self, just like lay on the couch. Like I slept on the couch from 2 to 2:30 the other day because I had nothing to do and I was just kind of tired. And I was like, I'm just going to put on some music and lay on the couch and sleep. And it was great. So, yeah, like you need that once in a while. You're running around so much. You're thinking about all this crazy shit. You're trying to get through your day-to-day. Just take care of yourself a little bit. I saw you tweet that the other day, and it's true. Hope you did. Hope you took some time.
Yeah, and keep taking care of yourself. Remember, you're just having the thought of something. You're not actually going through it and doing it. I know it because we all live it, and I wouldn't be here without these two awesome dudes. Thank you, Vince Quinn. Thank you, Taylor Kredatus, for being amazing people, and for you for listening, for watching, for subscribing and tuning in. Every time we post a show, we really appreciate you. Have a happy new year, although we'll see you on Thursday. I'm going to say that again. But take care of yourselves out there. We'll see you real soon. BellTheBirdmen.com. Okay, bye.